Hollywood shines with glitz and glamour, but the spotlight doesn't always reveal perfection. Behind the red carpets and premieres, some of the biggest stars have faced legal challenges that reminded the world they are human too. At times, headlines focused not on awards or performances, but on courtroom appearances and surprising scandals. From action stars to beloved comedians, even the most admired names have stumbled. Today, we uncover 19 Hollywood greats with criminal records you never knew about, and some of these stories may leave you shocked. Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is now known as one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. But during the 1990s, his career nearly collapsed. Instead of headlines about his acting, he was repeatedly linked to legal problems. He faced charges for restricted items and failed to follow the rules of his probation. After several warnings, a judge ordered him to serve close to a year in a California facility. By 1999, after another violation, he was once again placed in custody. The entertainment world began to give up on him. Studios cut ties, projects vanished, and his image was overshadowed by his struggles. For many, it seemed like the end of the road. But Downey refused to quit. Through persistence and determination, he rebuilt himself personally and professionally. Slowly, he returned to acting, and eventually, his role as Tony Stark in Iron Man launched one of the greatest comebacks in movie history. In 2015, he was officially pardoned by the governor of California, a final mark of redemption. Downey's journey shows that even when everything falls apart, resilience can turn failure into triumph. Mark Wahlberg. Before he became a respected actor and producer, Mark Wahlberg's teenage years in Boston were turbulent. At only 13, he had already been in trouble for reckless behavior. By 16, two separate incidents resulted in serious confrontations that caused harm to others. He was found guilty and spent 45 days in custody. Though it was a short sentence, the impact on his reputation was long-lasting. As Wahlberg shifted to music and eventually acting, his teenage record continued to follow him. Many questioned if he could ever fully leave his past behind. In later interviews, Wahlberg admitted he had made mistakes, pointing to his environment and poor influences during that time. He even sought an official pardon at one point, though he eventually decided to let his present-day actions speak for themselves. Over the years, Wahlberg's transformation has been remarkable. From box office hits like The Departed to acclaimed projects such as The Fighter, he has proven himself as both an actor and businessman. Still, his early record is a reminder that youthful choices can leave permanent marks. His story shows that while the past cannot be erased, determination can reshape a future. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan's path to stardom began early, with breakout roles in The Parent Trap and Mean Girls. By her 20s, she was one of the most recognizable young stars in the world. But beginning in 2007, she faced a series of legal troubles connected to reckless driving and failing to meet probation terms. These problems brought her to court repeatedly and disrupted her career. Judges often warned her that further missteps would bring harsher outcomes. Short stays in custody, required treatment programs, and frequent hearings became part of her life. The media closely followed every appearance, often focusing more on her legal issues than her work as an actress. For years, she was unable to escape the cycle. Despite this, Lohan has worked hard to recover her career. In recent years, she has returned to acting, slowly rebuilding her reputation with new projects. Her story is a striking example of how fame at a young age can magnify personal struggles, but also how determination can help turn things around. Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes achieved worldwide fame as the star of the Blade trilogy, but in 2006, his career was overshadowed by a financial scandal. Federal prosecutors accused him of failing to file income tax returns for several years, a revelation that shocked fans. Suddenly, the action star was facing courtroom drama instead of film premieres. In 2008, a jury convicted Snipes on 3 misdemeanor counts. Prosecutors noted that during the period in question, he had earned nearly $40 million. Though he avoided more serious charges, the judge sentenced him to 3 years in a federal facility. Snipes ultimately served just over 2 before being released. Throughout, he argued that poor advice from financial advisors had led to the situation. When he returned to Hollywood, Snipes faced the challenge of proving himself again. Though his career never fully reached its former heights, he successfully took on new roles and reminded audiences of his talent. His story remains one of the most famous examples of financial downfall in Hollywood, proof that even the biggest stars must answer for their mistakes. Winona Ryder. By the early 2000s, Winona Ryder had become a Hollywood favorite, celebrated for performances in Edward Scissorhands and Girl, Interrupted. That image collapsed in December 2001 when she was detained in Beverly Hills after leaving a department store with more than $5,000 worth of designer goods without paying. Prosecutors alleged she removed tags and placed items into her bag before exiting the store. Security cameras and witness testimony were central to the case, which dominated the news cycle. In the end, Ryder was found guilty of theft and vandalism. She avoided time behind bars, but was sentenced to probation, community service, and counseling. For years, her career slowed dramatically, with studios hesitant to work with her. Yet, Hollywood eventually embraced her again. In 2016, Ryder returned to the spotlight with Stranger Things, earning praise from critics and audiences alike. Her resilience showed that, even after public embarrassment, a star can rise again. Ryder's case remains a reminder of how quickly fame can turn, and how equally fast it can be rebuilt. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf's career has always walked a fine line between brilliance and turbulence. From his early days on Disney's Even Stevens to blockbuster franchises like Transformers, his talent was undeniable. Yet his off-screen life became increasingly unstable, often overshadowing his acting achievements. Over the years, LaBeouf was repeatedly detained for disorderly conduct and public disturbances. These episodes created an unpredictable image that fascinated some fans while troubling others. In 2020, LaBeouf's reputation took a serious hit when his former partner, musician FKA Twigs, filed a lawsuit accusing him of serious emotional and personal misconduct. Although LaBeouf did not directly deny the claims, he admitted to harming those close to him and publicly acknowledged his need for help. The fallout was immediate. Major studios distanced themselves, and projects once attached to his name disappeared. Despite the controversies, some directors have continued to defend his artistic skill, calling him one of the most raw and fearless performers of his generation. His story remains unsettled, balancing extraordinary talent with profound personal struggles. Whether redemption awaits him is uncertain, but one thing is clear. Shia LaBeouf's legacy will forever be marked by both his remarkable intensity and his chaotic off-screen battles. Mel Gibson. Few stars have reached the heights of Mel Gibson, whose work in Braveheart and the Lethal Weapon films made him one of Hollywood's most bankable actors. But in 2006, Gibson's career took a sharp downturn after a driving-related detention in Malibu spiraled into scandal. Remarks he made during the incident quickly spread through the media, damaging his reputation overnight. The troubles didn't end there. In 2011, Gibson faced a domestic-related legal case involving his former partner. He entered a plea deal for a misdemeanor, avoiding jail but receiving probation, community service, and counseling. The entertainment industry responded harshly, with many distancing themselves from him entirely. For several years, Gibson was largely excluded from major projects. But in 2016, he made a stunning return as director of Hacksaw Ridge. The film earned critical acclaim, multiple Academy Award nominations, and proved that Gibson's creative vision remained powerful. Still, his name carries controversy, and his career serves as an example of how quickly fame can collapse, and how difficult, though not impossible, it is to rebuild. Bill Cosby. For decades, Bill Cosby was celebrated as America's dad, thanks to The Cosby Show and his reputation as a wholesome entertainer. That image crumbled as more than 60 women came forward with accounts of misconduct spanning decades. While most cases could not proceed due to legal limits, one involving Andrea Constand reached trial. In 2018, Cosby was convicted on serious misconduct charges, a verdict hailed as groundbreaking in holding powerful figures accountable. He was sentenced to prison, marking one of the most dramatic downfalls in entertainment history. However, in 2021, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned the conviction due to procedural issues tied to an earlier agreement, not the evidence itself. Cosby was released, igniting fierce public debate. Today, Cosby remains one of the most controversial figures in entertainment. His achievements in comedy and television are now overshadowed by the accusations and the trial. For many, his legacy stands as a cautionary tale of how quickly a reputation can collapse when hidden truths emerge. O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson's story is unlike any other in American pop culture. Once celebrated as a record-breaking NFL star and charismatic actor, Simpson's life became defined by a high-profile legal case in 1995. The trial, focused on the deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, divided the nation. He was acquitted in criminal court, but a civil jury later found him responsible, awarding millions to the victims' families. Years later, Simpson again faced serious legal trouble. In 2007, he led a group into a Las Vegas hotel to reclaim sports memorabilia he claimed had been taken from him. The confrontation turned physical and resulted in charges including property-related confrontation and unlawful detainment. In 2008, Simpson was convicted and sentenced to up to 33 years. He served 9 before being granted parole in 2017. Though now free, Simpson's legacy remains forever tied to scandal. Once adored for his athletic achievements and on-screen presence, he is now remembered as one of the most divisive figures in modern American history. Felicity Huffman. In 2019, Felicity Huffman stunned fans when she was named in a sweeping federal investigation into college admissions fraud. Known for her Emmy-winning role on Desperate Housewives, Huffman admitted to paying $15,000 disguised as a charitable donation to boost her daughter's SAT score. The revelation painted her as a symbol of privilege misused. Huffman chose to plead guilty, taking responsibility for her role in the scheme. The court sentenced her to 14 days in a federal facility, a $30,000 fine, and 250 hours of community service. Though her sentence was short, the case carried massive symbolic weight. Many debated whether celebrities faced lighter consequences compared to everyday families. After serving her time quietly, Huffman began to cautiously return to acting. She expressed deep remorse and has since worked to move forward without fanfare. While her reputation may never fully recover, her willingness to accept responsibility has helped her take tentative steps toward rebuilding. Huffman's story illustrates how quickly public trust can be lost and how difficult it is to earn back. Lori Loughlin. For years, Lori Loughlin was cherished as Aunt Becky on Full House, representing the very image of wholesome family television. That all changed in 2019 when she and her husband, fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, were swept up in the same college admissions scandal that ensnared Felicity Huffman. Prosecutors revealed they paid $500,000 to present their daughters as athletic recruits, securing their admission to the University of Southern California. At first, Loughlin resisted the charges, pleading not guilty and maintaining her innocence. The decision brought intense public scrutiny, as critics questioned whether privilege had blinded her to the seriousness of the situation. Eventually, she reversed her stance and entered a guilty plea. In 2020, She was sentenced to 2 months in a correctional facility, fined $150,000, and ordered to complete 100 hours of community service. Her husband received a longer sentence. The scandal marked a dramatic fall from grace for the actress, once considered America's sweetheart. For years after, she remained largely absent from the public eye, surfacing only occasionally in small projects. While her image may never fully recover, Laughlin has begun cautiously re-emerging, hoping to rebuild trust and find a place in Hollywood once more. Her case is remembered as one of the starkest examples of how far parents will go to secure opportunities, and how quickly reputations can unravel. Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes was once hailed as one of Hollywood's brightest young comedians. With The Amanda Show and She's the Man, she seemed destined for decades of success. But beginning in 2012, her life took a troubling turn. She faced reckless driving charges and a series of highly publicized incidents that left fans concerned. At the same time, her behavior online grew increasingly erratic, raising questions about her well-being. In response to her struggles, a conservatorship was established, giving her parents legal control over her personal and financial affairs. The arrangement lasted nearly a decade, during which she sought treatment and avoided the spotlight. Her story became a flashpoint in debates about the pressures of child stardom and the limits of conservatorships. In 2022, the court determined that she was once again capable of managing her own life, formally ending the legal arrangement. Since then, Bynes has focused on wellness and education, largely stepping back from Hollywood. While she has hinted at possible creative projects, her main priority has been personal stability. Her journey, filled with both fame and turbulence, remains a sobering example of how quickly success can transform into struggle, but also how recovery and reinvention are possible. Christian Slater. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Christian Slater was Hollywood's ultimate bad boy, starring in edgy classics like Heathers. But off-screen, his behavior often mirrored the chaos of his roles. In 1989, he was detained after a reckless driving incident that included resisting officers. Not long after, he was caught attempting to bring a restricted item through airport security. The most damaging moment came in 1997, when a late-night party escalated into a serious altercation. Slater was charged with harassment and causing injury, leading to nearly 2 months in custody, followed by time in rehabilitation. His reputation suffered greatly, and studios became reluctant to work with him. For years, his once promising career seemed stalled. Determined to turn things around, Slater committed to lasting changes. Over time, he rebuilt his reputation, culminating in a critically acclaimed role in Mr. Robot. His performance earned him a Golden Globe and proved that his talent had never faded. Today, Slater is seen as one of the more successful comeback stories in Hollywood. His journey underscores the lesson that even the most turbulent figures can find balance, transforming rebellion into maturity and longevity. Danny Trejo. Danny Trejo's story is one of Hollywood's most remarkable transformations. Long before becoming a fan favorite in films like Machete and Heat, Trejo spent much of his youth in correctional facilities across California. Trapped in a cycle of crime and instability, he seemed destined for a life of struggle. Behind those walls, however, Trejo discovered two things that would reshape his future: boxing and a commitment to personal change. After turning his life around, he began working as a counselor, mentoring others in recovery programs. A chance visit to a movie set in the 1980s altered his path forever. Asked to step in as a background actor because of his imposing presence, Trejo soon realized he had a natural gift for performance. What began as small roles grew into a long and celebrated career. Today, Trejo is not only an actor, but also a community figure, often speaking about second chances. His businesses, outreach work, and acting career stand as proof that redemption is always possible. Trejo's life illustrates how a troubled past doesn't have to define the future. It can instead become the foundation for an inspiring transformation. Matthew Broderick. In 1987, Matthew Broderick was riding high on the success of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That summer, while vacationing in Northern Ireland with then-girlfriend Jennifer Grey, tragedy struck. Driving on unfamiliar country roads, Broderick mistakenly veered into the wrong lane and collided with another car. The accident killed 2 passengers instantly, casting a dark shadow over what should have been a joyful holiday. Broderick himself sustained serious injuries and spent weeks recovering. Authorities investigated and ultimately charged him with careless driving, a lesser offense than initially considered. He was fined, but spared more serious punishment. Still, the emotional weight of the accident haunted him for years. Out of respect for the families, Broderick rarely spoke publicly about the incident, though it remained a silent chapter in his life. Despite the tragedy, Broderick returned to acting, carving out a long career in film and on stage. Though his work continued, the accident remained a reminder of how a single mistake can alter countless lives forever. His story differs from others on this list, in that it was not rooted in rebellion or privilege, but in human error. It remains one of Hollywood's most sobering cautionary tales. Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was once the highest-paid actor on television, commanding global attention with his role in 2.5 Men. Yet behind the success, his personal life often spiraled into legal problems and public scandals. Over the years, he was detained multiple times for reckless behavior and domestic-related legal issues. Each new headline overshadowed his career and cemented his image as Hollywood's unpredictable star. In 2009, one such case in Colorado ended with probation and counseling, signaling how serious his situation had become. Despite these troubles, Sheen's career stayed afloat, fueled by his charisma and comedic timing. But by 2011, the pressure boiled over. His clashes with producers led to his dismissal from 2.5 Men, a stunning fall for television's top-paid performer. In later years, Sheen began publicly discussing his efforts to regain stability, prioritizing family and wellness. Though his career never fully returned to its former height, he has continued to work and explore new projects. Sheen's story remains a vivid reminder of how fame can amplify personal struggles. His legacy is both one of immense success and cautionary decline. A star whose talent was undeniable, but often eclipsed by chaos behind the scenes. Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke once captivated audiences with performances in films like The Pope of Greenwich Village and 9.5 Weeks. Critics hailed him as a natural talent with the potential to rival Hollywood's greats. But by the 1990s, his off-screen troubles began overtaking his work. He was repeatedly cited for public disputes and altercations that hurt his reputation and discouraged studios from hiring him. Disillusioned with acting, Rourke briefly pursued a career in boxing, a decision that brought both physical injuries and further instability. Hollywood largely turned away, and for a time, it seemed his career might never recover. His name became more associated with controversy than artistry. Yet in 2008, Rourke staged one of the most remarkable comebacks in film history. His role in The Wrestler earned him widespread critical acclaim, including an Academy Award nomination. Audiences were reminded of the raw intensity that once defined him. Today, Rourke remains a symbol of both wasted potential and stunning resilience. His story demonstrates how even when an actor loses their way, extraordinary talent can still shine through when given the right chance. Sean Penn. Sean Penn has long been considered one of Hollywood's most intense and dedicated actors, but his fiery temperament frequently drew him into legal trouble. In the 1980s, while married to Madonna, Penn became infamous for confrontations with paparazzi. These clashes led to multiple detentions, and in 1987 he served time in custody following a physical confrontation with a photographer. His reputation as a volatile figure grew quickly. Through the 1990s, Penn continued to face citations for reckless behavior and disputes. For some, these incidents reinforced his image as Hollywood's ultimate rebel. Yet even as his personal life drew headlines, his talent never went unnoticed. His performances in films such as Dead Man Walking and Mystic River earned critical acclaim and major awards. Penn's story is unique in that his turbulence became part of his persona. While other actors were derailed by their legal issues, Penn seemed to harness his raw energy and channel it into unforgettable performances. Today, he remains polarizing, admired for his artistry, but remembered for his volatility. His journey shows how rebellion, while costly, can also fuel a career built on intensity. Hugh Grant. In 1995, Hugh Grant was at the peak of his career, beloved worldwide for his charming roles in romantic comedies like Four Weddings and A Funeral. That year, however, his public image suffered when he was detained in Los Angeles after being caught in a public scandal involving inappropriate behavior. The incident quickly became international tabloid news, clashing with the clean-cut persona audiences adored. Grant's response was unusual for the time. He issued a direct and public apology. The honesty of his admission may have helped him weather the storm. Still, the scandal lingered for years, with journalists frequently revisiting it in interviews. For many, it seemed like the end of his ascent in Hollywood. But Grant proved remarkably resilient. He rebounded with a string of iconic films, including Notting Hill and Love Actually, re-establishing himself as one of the defining romantic leads of his generation. Over time, his wit, talent, and self-deprecating humor helped repair his reputation. Today, the scandal is a blemish, but not a defining one. Grant's career stands as proof that even the most damaging headlines can eventually be eclipsed by enduring talent. Behind every red carpet smile lies the reality that even the brightest stars are human, capable of mistakes, missteps, and redemption. These 19 stories reveal that fame does not erase accountability, and legal troubles can alter a career as dramatically as a blockbuster hit. Yet many of these figures also prove that resilience and reinvention are possible. Which of these stories surprised you most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more untold Hollywood truths.